Hello, hello, and welcome to episode 6 of True or Not, where we go to demystify some of the popular topics around productivity, well-being, personal development. So, if you have ever felt like you really had the motivation to achieve something, but then weren't able to do it, and you're wondering why is this happening and why am I not able to achieve something, there might be a very simple solution, and it has to do everything with your brain. And that's what we're going to talk about. Is it really all about motivation, or is there something else more on the science side that we can use for our advantage when we want to reach our goals? So Ivan, kick us off.
So what I wanted to tell you is that humans are more than ever more complex. So 100 years ago, most of the tasks that we had to accomplish were routines where we had to use only a limited part of our brain. And in fact, only a few ones were the privileged ones who were into innovation, science, and you name it. Usually, back then, we usually had to work in order to have a salary and to have a salary so that it allowed us to survive. The accessibility nowadays to professions that require more creativity, more use of your brain, the cognitive process, more reflection, made that our brain requires to use an expanded area that is not that easy to access when we just have a standard type of motivation. And when I'm talking about the standard type of motivation, I mean is the usual one. If I do this, I will get that. The famous carrot and stick. Today, to reach our goals, you need more than that. So you need autonomy, mastery, and purpose. So it's a different way of looking at how can we achieve in an easier way our goals. When we talk about autonomy, it's basically deciding when, how, and even with whom we are going to do that specific task. So something that is us deciding. And this is something that allows us to move on and to be motivated, to create a startup for the motivation. The other thing that is quite important, the mastery, is a task that is difficult enough for us to have a sense that it is challenging, but it's still something that is realistic for us to succeed. This creates a positive mindset that is mastered by continuous repetition of achievable tasks. And the last point that is important in order to create this domain of motivation is the purpose. It is about understanding the reason why we are doing something, and that we know that is something that is appealing or it relates to us.
Nice. And, I want to pick up on the mastery piece, because this is where the brain actually really makes an impact for us. So there's a really great book, The Talent Code by Daniel Coyle. Brilliant book, highly recommended. What he talks about there is he basically discusses what, is talent innate or is it something that we can develop? And an important part he mentions there is the fact that practice, that mastery, is very important. Why is it important? Not just for the sake of getting better at something. In fact, it has to do everything with our brain. So what happens is when you're continuously practicing something, right? Nerves are essentially fired, and they fire through a circuit, and the messenger, there's like a little messenger that we don't know exists, of course, but there's a messenger. It's called myelin. So myelin is the substance that basically gets those nerves from A to B. And what happens when you practice something, especially a new task, that myelin gets stronger and stronger, which then becomes automatic for you to do something. So it goes back to that whole habit creation, right? Why is it some things are automated for us? It doesn't require any effort for us to do, while others are difficult. That's because myelin is stronger on the automated parts. So this is where the mastery comes in. It's super important. And another important part when it comes to myelin, which is that substance, right, is our willingness and openness to fail. Because actually it's like a muscle that you exercise, and it becomes even stronger the more we fail and then try that thing again and get better. So again, if you want to think of it as a muscle that you need to keep stronger, and you need to keep pushing it to the next level and the next level, which is why challenges are so important, that we need to have those in order for us to grow and expand. And a final part also is, again, in that book, what he talks about is some of the top talent that's been developed around the world. So an example he gives is the tennis champions around the world. There's a famous trainer in Moscow. She has a really just simple gym where she trains some of the best champions, the Russian tennis players around the world. And what she teaches them there actually is when they join her programs, for training programs, they have to sign a piece of paper that they are okay with the fact that they're not going to play competitively until 3 years down the road. She makes the parents sign the same thing because she said, you are going to first develop your skill. And the way she develops those skills over the 3 years is purely with those small steps. So they don't go into the tennis court and start playing. No, what they're doing is they're spending months and months just practicing the technique, the racket, right? So just the movement of the arm. They spend months just doing that before they even get their chance on court. And then even when they do, again, months to practice the actual game before they actually get to the to be able to actually practice with a competitor. So that's the whole idea, that to master it, number one, we need to do things that are difficult, that are challenging. Number two is that we need to break it into those small pieces. And three, to fail, because it's good to fail. So removing that whole taboo about failure, etc., it's actually amazing for our brains. And then when we have that, when our brains are strong, then we're able to be more productive and essentially achieve whatever we have set ourselves to achieve.
So what you're saying is, if we answer the question, is motivation enough in order to achieve our goals? We are saying definitely no. It is not enough because it's not enough about having an aspiration. Like when we count the number of people who start, for instance, they want to learn something, they go to Udemy, they subscribe to a course, and only 10% of them are going to be finishing the course. How many people subscribe to gyms for 1 year and they drop in the middle? So thinking about it, so motivation is not enough. It's just like having an aspiration. You need to have in your brain clear pieces of chunks of behaviors. You need to be able to, these behaviors, to make them repetitive so that you can use the effect of the myelin in order to exercise the muscle that you were mentioning before.
Absolutely. Much simpler than we think, and you don't need to stay motivated. You just need to know how the brain works.
Thank you, Elena. So we see each other next week.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.